Well, I think we got a real talented room. I do. They're great guys. They're great guys to work with. I enjoy coming to work with them every day, and I'm asking them to make sure they're being pros. They're veteran guys. They've been around. I should say two of them are at least veterans, but they've been in the program now. The top three guys have at least, and so I'm asking them to be pros about the way they approach the business, the way they go to meetings, walkthroughs, practice. So be pros and just continue to get better. But I love the room I got.
I know your answer is that you don't have a crystal ball for how the pecking order would work out. What do you sort of envision when you're trying to fit three guys maybe into the mix and spread those things?
Right now we're pretty much the reps are being distributed pretty evenly right now through day two. And that'll play itself out as we move forward. They're all showing, again, we're not in pads right now, so for a running back it's really kind of, are you in the right place? Track's right, your eye progression right, but are you taking care of the football even in shorts? But we'll see. That'll play itself out. I don't have the crystal ball. I say the same thing every year. I get asked the same question every year, and it's gonna be the same answer every year. But those guys all deserve to play, so I got to make sure that they're all ready to play because they all have shown the capacity and ability to play winning football here for Ohio State.
Hey, Coach, can you talk into the mic a little bit?
Yeah, Jerry. God. All right. I know, right?
How important do you see is that separation between 2, 3, somebody pulling away, taking maybe that true number 2 job, and you frame it like that to them?
No, I don't think it's about trying to get separation. I just want guys to continue to get better. And if you show you can play winning ball, then we're gonna find ways. It's my job, our job to find ways to put you on the field to help this football team win. And to say that you've got to be this major separation, quite frankly, I hope there's not a whole lot of separation. It means we've got some really good guys, and not one guy is so heads and tails above someone else. You'd like to be able to have an opportunity where you have 3, 4 guys that you can throw in and feel comfortable throwing them in at any time.
How does an opponent like Notre Dame increase the sense of urgency?
Well, you're playing a top-flight program. You're playing a program that they're very, very well coached, well disciplined. They've got excellent players, just as we do. So in a lot of ways, the talent's equated, and so there is a sense of urgency that we can't just kind of wallow through a practice or wallow through a day. Every single day matters, and every single rep matters, because again, you got to beat your opponent. You got to start beating them now.
Tony, you still own property there?
Do I still own property where? No, they threw me out of South Bend.
You guys are all still young. A couple of them, they hadn't played the year before. What kind of jump have they made from last year?
Well, I just think this is their maturity, right? The way their bodies look. They don't have a high school body anymore, right? And they know what it takes to be a successful college football player. So their mental makeup has changed. They walk around here with a little more confidence, their chest out a little bit better. When they're talking the game, they're articulating the way that we play and using our terminology, and they're understanding the game of football much more so than they did at any time and point last year. But that's just called maturation. That's how it should be.
How different is TreVeyon now?
He's a pro. That guy he's his mental makeup and his approach to it's always been very high. His mental makeup has always been very strong, and but the way he approaches his business, I mean, when he speaks now, it's business, and he knows what he's talking about. So that you talk about some respect is earned. Well, he's earned every bit of the respect that he's getting, and just by the way he carries himself, not just with the staff, but with the football team as a whole in the locker room.
He obviously had a really good freshman year.
He did.
How much better is he now?
I think he's light years better. I think he's light years ahead of where he was. Now, how does that translate? I can't tell you. Is that translated into yards? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can watch the maturity of him, but it may not show in yards. It may not show in carries. But what it does, it shows itself in the locker room. It shows itself in the meeting room. And just little things that you can see that he's really matured, and the way he's approaches workouts every day, his maturity and how he's taking better care of his body, as far as the prehab and in the training room and things like that. Not in the moment of the season, but in the off season. What's he doing to enhance his body outside of the weight room, outside of what Mick's saying? And that doesn't mean lifting weights. It might mean hydration, nutrition, sleep, going in and getting, his knees looked at and worked on. So he's doing a lot of his things outside, and the way he studies the game is a lot better than what it was. But again, it just goes to maturing.
Tony, did you think that he hit any kind of freshman wall or was banged up in the second half last year?
Yeah, he was banged up. He was banged up a little bit. I do think he hit a little bit of a freshman wall. You're talking about a guy that, I'm not trying to make excuses for him, albeit it may sound like I am, but he played football as a junior in high school. The next time he put on a helmet, he was playing in college. Missed his entire senior season. We thrust him into this situation, and I do. I think in a lot of ways his biological clock of playing football, he was tired. And the way, because here's the thing, we practice at a relentless pace as well. And what you can't do is say, well, hey, for instance, I remember when he after the Tulsa game, on Sunday we're out there stretching, I kind of looked at him and he's like, my leg hurts, I'm tired. And I said, well, okay, you got about 5 minutes to get in that line because you're going to practice in about 5 minutes. Because you're not allowed, you didn't have a great game, so now I'm going to take 2 days off. That's not how we do our business. You're going to practice every single day. And those reps, those practice reps matter. That's how you improve from practice. In the way we practice, for a young guy, that can wear on you. And I just think he got a little tired.
Tony, can I ask you about Xavier Johnson? He's played several positions
Yeah.
in his time, probably knows these rooms and walls better than you. If you came to him today and said, we need you back at running back, what do you think his reaction would be?
How fast can I get there? And tell me what you need me to know. And he would come in extra and say, okay, well, what have you put in new that I don't know? And let's study that. Coach, I know you go home at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll be there at 10:30. Let's meet afterwards. Let's meet early. That's not even a question if he would do that. That's a foregone conclusion. That's what he would do. He would do the same thing if they said, hey, come over here and play corner. He is a consummate team player. I'm more than proud of the way he's handled himself and have watched him grow into the man that he is. And I know I can speak for this entire staff. A lot of times say, well, I don't want to speak for Coach Day, or I don't want to speak. I'll speak for the entire staff on that one. I think every single coach in that building would lay it on the line and for that kid and what he's done for this program. And I know his parents are extremely proud of him too.
How important is that to have those kind of guys in the program?
Critical. It's critically important because now he's tested. You used to talk about that theory versus testimony, right? That's testimony of a guy that's been moved around, maybe hasn't gone his way all the time. He didn't pout, he didn't complain. He just put his head down and said, what do I got to do next to get better? That's testimonials to anybody in that building. And I don't care if you were a walk-on, if you were a 5-star recruit coming in, first team, fifth team, doesn't matter. Everybody goes through stuff, right? And all Xavier's done in my eyes is just continue to persevere and find ways to overcome whatever was happening. And it didn't point the fingers all the time, but kind of pointed some fingers at himself. So, okay, where can I get better? If there's an issue going on, how can I make it better by some of the changes that maybe I have to make? And didn't find excuses for this or that not happening. He just found ways to overcome and persevere. But that's a microcosm of how he lives his life, not just in this building. And that's who he is. And I think he's a testament to not just the guys in the locker room, but to the players, in particular the young guys coming in. The freshmen are coming in. They're like wide-eyed, like, oh, my gosh, what's going on? I'm never going to get a chance, or this isn't going well, that's not going well. Look to Xavier Johnson. Look to Cam Babb. We've got numerous examples, right? But we're talking about Xavier, but that's just how I love that kid. Dowling goes 100 miles an hour, and so the biggest thing we got to get him to kind of slow down and take a deep breath. He's very hard on himself. He's a guy you can tell he wants to do things perfectly, and it bothers him immensely if he doesn't. And he's going to be a really good player. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. It's going to take some time, but we've been through day 2, right? This is the second day of playing college football. Remember, he wasn't even here in the spring, so. But he's got a chance. He's got some skills, and he can run, and he's just got to learn the game. Just learn the game and settle down, take a deep breath. He's going to be fine.
This spring we talked to Evan, and he thinks he's really ready for a much bigger role. What's your sense of things?
Yeah, I think he's grown up as he should. Those guys have all matured. Evan wasn't ready last year, and then I'm sure we could have put him in we might have had some success. But overall, the overall deal, he wasn't ready, and I think he would echo that. I think he is now. You know, he needed to get roughed up a little bit and gristled up with Mick in that room, and he did. He's changed his body kind of like I talked about with those other guys, and they don't look like high school football players anymore. His mental approach to the game is also has been amped up. So I'm very excited about what, prospects for him, and we need to have next couple of real good weeks here and see where we go.
Tony, we just talked about coming in only being the second practice. You had Trey and Evan last year in the spring. You have to kind of remind yourself that Dallin wasn't here in the spring every now and then this fall.
No, it shows up. Just watch him. You can tell he hasn't been here. And when you meet and he's kind of wide-eyed and you kind of look at him like, hey, what about this? And you can tell that, oh, man, I'm really not sure what that was, right? And so that's part of it. That's just part of growing. And the thing is, he's a highly competitive guy, so it bothers him if he doesn't do something right the first time. But then in retrospect, you got to come back and say, well, you've never done this before, so we're good. We'll get through it. And but no, he's going to be fine. He's going to be good. Hi, CJ. I saw you coming over there start acting up.
Does it hurt with Dallin that he's coming into a normal year? He had his senior high school season. And things have gone more back to normal than maybe when Trey and Evan were getting here a year ago.
Well, I think the more you play, obviously, the better, right? So I would like to think that he did play his senior year, so that's an advantage to him, right? Now, the difference with Evan, the difference with Trey is they came at semester. So they had a little bit more time to mature into our program and sink their teeth into it than Dallin did because they were semester guys. But on the flip side, he played his senior year, they didn't. So, it is what it is. We are where we are. There are no excuses for this, and whether you played your senior year, didn't play your senior year, now you're at Ohio State, and we got things to go do, and no one really cares.
How important was it to have Dallin Hayden in this class? Obviously, you had three guys, and then Dallin's now around. Pair and spare, but then you need more than that.
Absolutely. Well, at running back, you need depth. You have to have depth because you've seen games where a couple guys in one game go down. So you've got to have depth, and so he was critically important.
What has impressed you about him, for want of another term?
He goes full speed. That's one thing. We're not going to have to ask him to go faster. He goes 100 miles an hour. Sometimes we got to try to pull the reins on him and back him down a little bit and slow him down. But that's probably the thing that's impressed me the most is he goes full speed. He only knows one speed. And it's impressive. He wants to learn. He's a very, very hungry kid who wants to do well. And so those are great traits. Those are great traits.
One of the quickie, I asked Ryan this last week in Chicago. I keep saying Chicago, Indianapolis. But you have in your mind now, you have to figure out some ways to get Kevin on the field,
Yeah.
get involved in the mix
Yeah.
because of what he's shown.
Yeah. Well.
What just in your mind, what's he proven to you, I guess, over
Well, again, I think he's toughened up. He's hardened his body up. He's gained weight and strength. I think he can present some issues. He can run and catch, and just in the first couple of days, he's made a couple plays down the field with the ball, and making plays with the ball and things like that. So, we got to find ways. It's no different than what we got playmakers. We got to find ways to get him on the field and make plays.
What excited you about Dallin as a recruit? What did you see from him?
I think he's a tough guy. I think he's tough, and that's probably the thing that stood out the most. He's a tough guy, and I've gotten to know the family where they instill that in him. I know in his dad, you can't listen now. With Aaron, you can't. You try to be soft over there, you're gonna have a problem in that household. So, but that's the thing that probably impressed me the most. Very serious about his business, and a tough guy.
What's the hardest part right now about the relationships with kids? I'm not sure how things are going to go.
Well, I think as far as recruiting goes, building a relationship, that hasn't changed. For me, that'll never change, right? So to say is that harder now? No, it's not any harder to build a relationship. I think that there's some other dynamics that are in play that didn't used to be in play. That you're building this relationship, yeah, but now you add in this piece of it. That's kind of new, uncharted waters, new territory. And you just got to find ways to play in that box, you know.
How are the questions that you're getting from the kids changing over time?
You know, I think the NIL questions that's new, and trying to get a handle on, well, where are we at and what can we say, what can't we do, so there's still a lot of gray area moving, right? And so we're always going to play on the side of doing things the right way, and sometimes that's hard because I don't know if everybody else is. I'm not going to say they're not. I'm not here to cast stones. I just know that can present some challenges, but at the end of the day, and again, maybe I'm archaic, older in the game, but at the end of the day, I believe, and hopefully, that it still comes down to development. It still comes down to being developed, put my hand on the ground, and beat the guy across from me, and be developed to become the player in the ultimate end game, or whatever that may be, to get developed as an NFL player, whatever it is that you're looking for. And so, you know, I mean, that's the best I can tell you.
Do you get the impression that kids feel that they are focused on that, or maybe are they too clouded by?
Well, not all kids. No, not all kids. There's some guys that I think maybe be clouded for some other things, and doesn't make them better or worse. It's just priorities, right? And but there's other guys. There's some other guys I've recruited. You know, obviously I'm not allowed to say names, but there's some other guys I've recruited and that are solely locked in on getting better. I'm going to be the best player I can be. And how are you going to make me a better player? They're not worried about all the other stuff, and that's good for them. And so I'm not here to play judge nor jury of what's good for this guy and good for that guy. I mean, that's between them and their family and what they're looking for. And so I think a lot of those guys, the conversations become different, right? And it's just like anything else. In any relationship, the conversations are different between Rylan and Kyler and Braden, my three sons. Well, those conversations are vastly different. I'm still trying to get to the same point in the end game. But the way I talk to one of them, listen, the way I talk to my oldest and compared to the way I talk to my middle one, oh my God. It's like two different worlds, right? Which means I'm pretty good. Pretty talented, right? Yeah.
Obviously, is a sign that he's very serious about what he's trying to do, and there's a perception of that to his teammates that he's serious about. So can you walk us through what that means to him personally, and then what it means to the team and the impact he might have? The fact that he was willing to kind of.
Well, it's all about that brotherhood we talk about, and that trust and that faith, and that I know that guy, I can count on him and I can depend on him, and accountability issues of, you know, how do you know? Well, look what he just did to his body. That wasn't easy. It's not easy to transform your body that way, and that took time. And so I think with this team, they can look at that and say, okay, here's what he's doing. Here's what he's doing to better serve the football team, the football program. And to him, like, listen, for him, hell, I put in all this work. Let's not have it go for naught. And so I think it's beneficial to everybody, and obviously it's not just to the players, but to the coaches too.
Related to that, how does it motivate TreVeyon?
Competition is a great deal, right? I mean, you want to get better? I believe this. You really want to get better? Put a guy sitting in the next chair that's just as good as you. Okay, well, then so when I said earlier, every single rep, every single day, every single period of practice, every single week, it matters. A rep is a walkthrough. A rep is if we ask a question in a meeting room and you better answer it correctly. That's a rep, right? And so you put another really talented guy next to you on the right end or the left of you, that lifts the entire room. That's why, you know, the question earlier was asked, well, do you want that big separation between 1 and 2? No. Quite frankly, no. I want all of them to push one another to be great players, to be elite players, because that's just going to lift the room. They're going to lift each other up personally, and then ultimately it's going to lift the room, which is ultimately going to transcend itself into the locker room. And so everybody gets better. And the great thing about my room is those guys are all extremely, extremely close friends. They all hang out. Are they competing? Absolutely. Are they competing to get better and push that guy? Yes. But they're the biggest and best advocates of one another. And that's a unique deal that we have in that room with those guys. And in the recruiting, those are the type of guys we're going to bring in. They're going to fit that mold and fit into that confines of, hey, we're going to compete with one another, but we're also going to push one another, and we're also going to help one another out and champion each other's efforts. And that's why I can sit here unabashedly and say that I love my room. I love those kids.
Tony, the run game and the offense obviously put up big numbers, but there were times when it wasn't efficient for short yardage situations that didn't pan out. Obviously, it's not just the running backs, it's the offensive lines, everything. When you look back at some of those issues, what did you see, and how confident are you to correct it?
I just think it's execution. You know, we can scheme it, but it still comes down to execution, and we just got to execute better. And there's some things that we as coaches can put guys in better positions, and and I can do a better job of, of maybe coaching and teaching different fundamentals and certain things that we're looking at as far as eye progression in the run game, and so I can't say, well, the shame on the player. Well, hell, if there's an issue with a player, the first person to look at is me, the coach. If Trey's consistently missing holes and not making guys miss at the second or the third level, or let's look to Tony Alford first. And so I think we all have to do a deep dive and self-evaluation of where can we get better in those situations where we weren't as good as we have hoped for. And I think we've done that. Time will tell when September 3rd, I guess we're going to find out. I coach the running backs. Well, again, I just think, it's execution. Listen, Trey Henderson, I don't want to speak for him and mine, but they're not going to say, well, he's a guard and he's a tackle. They don't care. Block your guy. Coach, where's the hole at? Who's my read key? I don't care if the guy's a 300-pound middle linebacker or a 220-pound nose guard. It doesn't matter. Who's my read key? Where's he standing? That guy in that space, that's my read key. I didn't tell you what body type it is. No one cares. That's the guy you look at. That's the guy you perform, or that's your movement key. That's your read key. That's who I'm blocking. It doesn't matter. If I have to block this linebacker, well, he was a linebacker last week, but now it's a defensive end that they moved a linebacker. Well, okay, well, he's a little bit bigger. Yeah, well, okay, and what? Execute, perform, and that's our job. So I don't think we look at it that well. I know the running backs don't look at it that way.
Last couple.
I did beat the I did literally, because I got pissed.
Yeah. To see him take full advantage of coming to Ohio State, to see him change his body, to see him take over as one of the lead guys last year and to do it again this year, is that what you envisioned for him?
It is. That's what I envision for all our players, and I guess maybe I shouldn't even say this, but I take great offense when I feel people start taking shots at our players. I take great offense to it, because there's very few of us who really know what they go through day in and day out, and so to have people take shots at them sometimes that they don't know what shots they're really taking or why they're even taking them. I do. I take offense to that, and I probably sometimes go overboard as a pound of the tables, as we said, but I don't apologize for that either. I love my players. I put a lot of faith in my players, especially when they do the things that we've asked them to do. He's obviously done that. We'll continue to do as such. Has it always been easy? Has those conversations always been the nicest and most calm? No, but again, like my other players, I'm indebted to the way he's worked and the time he's putting in to be the player that he's becoming, to help this football team be the team that we want it to be.
Do you think he's maybe
Last question right
still underappreciated? Because obviously, I think.
Underappreciated, but you say underappreciated. Underappreciated by who?
Well, you were the one who was saying that. I assume you were talking about Miami when you were saying you feel like people have said things about him.
Well, I know in recruiting, when we got him, some people said, because I've heard it all. People would ask some questions like, well, why is he not this? And why would you want this guy? So mine's not underappreciated by anybody in our building, not by me. I most certainly appreciate everything that he's given to the program. Does he need improvement areas? Sure. But so does C.J. Stroud, who's a Heisman candidate, right? So does Tony Alford, the running back coach. We've all got to improve, and finding those ways finding where we need to improve, and not just saying you must improve here, but how. how do we get there? Don't just tell me the problem, but tell me how we're going to fix the problems and enhance ourselves. And we've done that. We've sat numerous hours in conversation, and he's done all the things thus far that we've asked him to do.
Tony, with that in mind,
We're
what is
good.
a running back situation or a place that you studied maybe in the off season?
I'm sorry.
What is like a running back program or a pro or college program that maybe you took note of? Hey, I can learn something from that. You studied in the off season.
Yeah, the Rams. Yeah.
What intrigues you about them?
I just their scheme. Their outside zone scheme and things like that. We really dove into those guys. I spent some individual time with talking to Eric Bieniemy, and I spent some time talking to Eric Studesville down at the Dolphins. They're very close friends of mine, just about just some fundamental stuff and things like that.
Do you travel and visit with them or just on the phone?
Those guys have been on the phone, but I mean, I saw Eric when I was down in Fort Lauderdale recruiting. I happened to see him because he's down there with the Dolphins. So I mean, I saw him for a few minutes. We've been long time friends, and but most of it, yeah, it's all just film study on the phones, asking questions.
Can you give me an example of maybe something that just piqued your interest?
Yeah, just like I said, outside zone. Where are their eyes, where are their aiming points. Depths. What exact? Because their steps or tracks are a little bit different than ours. Okay, well then why? Why are your steps like this, and why are your eyes over here, and what's the purpose of the depth from this point? Give me some of the drills that you're using in order to enhance the actual play itself. So just questions like that, which I think is kind of normal for us coaches.
Hey, Tony, real quick, just the returning 3 guys as blockers. What have you seen in terms of improvement?
Well, I think they definitely improved in the spring. We aren't in pads yet, so we're going to find out. But I just think, blow delivery. We got to still do better with our hands and blow delivery with our strike of our hands and things like that, and hand placement. But I think for the most part, the eye progression has been pretty good, and what they're looking at and identifying blitzes and blitz patterns. And so now it's just a matter of, we got to hone back in on it because we've been away from it since April, I guess. But they improved in the spring. We put a lot of time into it. So, like I said, we'll find out here. But I think Saturday or Monday we put the pads on, so we'll find out how we're doing from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
You guys good? Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, man. You guys